Hello students, welcome back to my next session on chemical kinetics. Today we shall understand about zero order reactions and pseudo first order reactions. But let us begin with the derivation of an integrated rate law for a first order reaction which is in the gaseous state. So for example, if I have a gaseous reaction A getting converted into B and C where all the reactants and products are in the gaseous state. Now in this case, we cannot apply the integrated rate law that we derived in the previous session where the terms are all expressed in terms of concentration of the reactant, right? So for gaseous substances, it is always beneficial to measure the pressure of the gas rather than measure the concentration of the gaseous reactants. So let us consider that the initial pressure of the gas A is Pi, and let us assume that the pressure of this gas decreases by an amount T over a period of time. Now in that case, the pressure of the reactant A after time T can be denoted by Pi minus X, that is initial pressure minus the amount of decrease. So similarly, the pressure of the gas B, that is the product B, as well as the product C after time T can be denoted by X, that is the amount of pressure of B and C will be increasing by an amount of X. So the total pressure in the reaction mixture at time T can be denoted by Pa plus Pb plus Pc, which on expanding I get Pi minus X, that is initial, that is the pressure of A, plus the pressure of B, which is X, plus the pressure of C, which is again X. So I get the total pressure is Pi plus X, right? Okay. So from this expression, that is P equal to Pi plus X, I can write X is equal to P minus Pi. That is the total pressure minus the initial pressure. That is my value of X. That is the amount of decrease in pressure of the reactant A over a period of time T. Now, so in that case, I can derive an expression, or I can write down an expression for the final pressure of A after time T. So we had assumed that the pressure of A decreases by an amount X. So if initial pressure of A is Pi, then I get Pi minus X. But just now we have seen that what is X? X is nothing but P plus Pi. So when I substitute this and I simplify, I get Pi minus P plus Pi, which is equal to 2 Pi minus P, right? Now let us substitute these values in the integrated rate law for the first order reaction. So in terms of concentration, I can write the rate law as K equals 2.303 by T log to the base 10 of A0 by AT. Now we know that A0, that is the initial concentration, can be replaced by the initial pressure, and AT, that is the concentration at time T, can be replaced by the pressure of the reactant A after time T, that is PA, right? So we get K equals 2.303 by T log of Pi upon Pa. But what is Pa? We've just seen here Pa is 2 Pi minus P. So we substitute that in this integrated rate law. So I get K equals 2.303 by T log to the base 10 of Pi upon 2 Pi minus P. So now this expression gives me the integrated rate law for a first order reaction which is entirely in the gaseous state, right? So when we are doing numericals where the reaction is in the gaseous state and the pressure values are given to us, we need to use this particular expression for writing the integrated rate law for a first order reaction. All right. Now this brings us to the understanding of zero order reactions. And let us derive an expression for the rate law for a zero order reaction as well. So we have already studied that zero order reactions are reactions where the rate does not depend upon the concentration of the reactant, or it is in the rate law we can write down the rate as depending on the concentration of reactant raised to 0, right? So let us consider a general expression for a zero order reaction where A is getting converted into products. By definition, I can say the average rate of this reaction is minus dA by dt, where the negative sign indicates that there is a decrease in concentration of reactant with respect to time. And according to the rate law, since it's a zero order reaction, I can say rate equals K into concentration of the reactant A raised to 0. Now A raised to 0 is nothing but 1. So I get rate equals K. Let us equate both these steps. So I get minus dA by dt equals K, which is called as the differential rate law. On rearranging this equation, I get dA equals minus K dt. Now we shall integrate this expression. Now before integrating, let us understand the limits for the integration. The initial limit will be when time equals 0. That means the initial concentration of the reactant A can be denoted by A0. And at time t, that is after some time, the concentration of the reactant A will be denoted as AT. So let us substitute these limits after integrating this differential rate equation, that is dA equals minus K dt. So I get integral dA from the limits A0 to AT equals minus K integral dt from 0 to t. Now integral dx is x. So similarly integral dA will be A and integral dt will be written as simply t. So I get next step A from the limits A0 to AT equals minus K into t from the limits 0 to t. Now on applying the limits, I will get the expression AT minus A0 is equal to minus KT. And if I were to remove the negative sign, that means I multiply the equation throughout by negative sign, I get A0 minus AT equal to KT. So this is the final expression for the integrated rate law of a zero order reaction. That is A0 minus AT equal to KT, or K equals A0 minus AT upon T. Now, let us understand what is the half-life for a zero order reaction. So as we have already defined half-life when we were deriving the first order reaction, I'll quickly just go into the substitution of the values at half-life. So at half-life, we know that the concentration of the reactant becomes half the original concentration. So on substituting this condition, we get A0 minus A0 upon 2 is equal to K into T half, where T half represents the half-life. So on rearranging, I get A0 upon 2 equals K into T half. That means my T half, or the half-life for a zero order reaction, is equal to A0 upon 2K. So as is evident from this equation, the half-life for a zero order reaction depends upon the original concentration of the reactant. Unlike the first order reaction where we have already seen that half-life is independent of the original concentration of reactant. Okay, so that means the half-life for a zero order reaction is dependent upon what amount of initial concentration of reactant I am taking. All right. Now let us understand these zero order reactions by the graphical representation. So here I have my integrated rate law for a zero order reaction, that is AT minus A0 equals minus KT. Let us rearrange this equation in order to get the expression in the form of a straight line or a linear graph. So I get AT equals minus KT plus A0. I've just shifted this A0 term to the right hand side. So here you can see my AT represents Y, K is M, minus K represents M, and T represents X. Then A0 represents C, or the Y intercept. So now this equation is of the form Y equals mx plus C, which is a straight line equation. Okay, only thing is there is a Y intercept here having the value A0. So if I were to plot a graph of AT, that is the concentration of reactant at various times with respect to the time, then my graph would appear like this. I would have a linear graph with a negative slope. Okay, the slope is equal to minus K, and the y-intercept I've denoted here by A0, right? So now let us see another graphical representation for the zero order reaction. Here by the rate law, we know that rate is equal to K into A raised to 0. That means because it's a zero order reaction, that means the rate is equal to K, where K is the reaction constant. So in other words, the rate of the zero order reaction always remains constant. So again, if I were to plot a graph of the rate of the reaction versus the concentration of the reactant, okay, that is A. So here I have AT versus a rate here. So you will see the graph is a straight line parallel to the x-axis, indicating that the rate remains constant throughout the reaction, irrespective of whatever amount of concentration of reactant I have taken, right? All right. So now let us see some examples for zero order reaction. It seems hard to believe, right, that how can a reaction rate does not depend upon the original concentration of reactant. So let us see some examples here. First, we have the decomposition of ammonia on platinum surface. So you see, this is a gaseous reaction. All the reactants and products are in the gaseous state. The reaction takes place in the presence of platinum as a catalyst. So when I introduce the platinum as a catalyst, the reactant molecules, that is the ammonia molecules, initially get adsorbed on the surface of the platinum, right? And after adsorption, the bond formation and the bond breaking and the bond formation takes place. The ammonia molecule gets decomposed into formation of nitrogen and hydrogen. Once it has got decomposed, the products will get desorbed from the catalyst surface and they will escape outside. Then again, a fresh set of molecules will get adsorbed on the catalyst surface. That means if you see at any point of time, whatever amount of ammonia molecules have taken in the reaction mixture, all of them are not participating in the reaction. It is only a few set of molecules that are able to get adsorbed on the surface of the catalyst available that are actually involved in the decomposition process, right? So once these set of molecules get desorbed, only then a fresh set of molecules get adsorbed. So irrespective of whatever amount of initial concentration of ammonia I've taken, it's always a constant set of molecules that are getting adsorbed on the catalyst surface, getting decomposed and getting desorbed and moving out of the catalyst surface. That means at any point of time, the concentration of the reactant will remain constant, on which the reaction rate depends. So I can say that the reaction actually does not depend upon the initial concentration of the reactant, and therefore the rate of this reaction remains constant throughout the reaction. Another example is the decomposition of nitrous oxide in the presence of platinum. So again here, all the reactants and the products are in the gaseous state. On the surface of the catalyst, the adsorption and the desorption of the products will take place. Therefore, at every point of time, it is only the set of molecules that are adsorbed on the catalyst surface that are actually undergoing decomposition, and hence the reaction rate remains constant irrespective of whatever initial concentration of nitrous oxide I have taken, right? I hope it is very simple and easy to understand. So you need to remember examples of zero order reaction. Okay. Now we come to yet another interesting reaction, that is the pseudo first order reaction. Now you can see here this word pseudo. I'm sure it reminds you of the pseudopodia of amoeba, which you've learned in your lower classes. So as you remember correctly, pseudopodia stands for false feet. So similarly, the word pseudo here stands for false. That means it's a false first order reaction. Now what do you understand by a false first order reaction? A false first order reaction means, as the name suggests, it is truly of a higher order. Okay, it may be second order, but it behaves or it shows the kinetics as though it is of a first order. So when you have a reaction that is truly of a second order or of a higher order, but it behaves or shows a first order kinetics, then it is called as a pseudo first order reaction. So let us understand with an example, hydrolysis of methyl acetate. So here I need two reactants. I need methyl acetate. I also need water for the hydrolysis. On hydrolysis, the methyl acetate gets converted into acetic acid and methanol. So if you were to see the rate law for this particular reaction, you will see the rate law will represent that it depends on concentration of methyl acetate as well as the concentration of water, because you need the presence of water for the hydrolysis, right? So here rate is equal to a constant K. I'm representing it as K dash, the constant, multiplied by the concentration of the acetate into the concentration of water. But for the hydrolysis, there is no restriction on the amount of water that I need to take. So I can assume the concentration of water is going to remain a constant throughout the reaction, right? So if I substitute this concentration of water as a constant, then I get rate equals K dash into concentration of methyl acetate into K double dash. So the product of both these constants can be represented by a new constant K. So I get rate equals K into concentration of the methyl acetate. Now this final expression which I get indicates that the rate is dependent only on the concentration of methyl acetate. And you can see from this expression of the rate law that the order of this reaction is 1. That means now this reaction behaves as if it is a first order reaction, whereas truly it was a second order reaction where it requires the concentration of both acetate as well as water. It is only because the water is in excess we can consider the concentration of water to be constant, and hence we assume that the rate actually depends only upon the concentration of methyl acetate and not upon the concentration of water. So this hydrolysis of methyl acetate, though being a second order reaction, behaves as if it is a first order reaction, and hence it is an example of a pseudo first order reaction. Okay. Now let us take another example. We have inversion of cane sugar. So again here the cane sugar undergoes hydrolysis to form glucose and fructose. Now in this case also the rate law you will see is actually dependent on concentration of cane sugar as well as water. But again the water being in excess, you can take the concentration of water to be constant, and hence you get the final expression for the rate law as rate equals K into concentration of cane sugar, and this equation now represents the first order kinetics. So again you can see cane sugar inversion is nothing but actually a second order reaction, but behaves or shows the kinetics of a first order reaction, and hence inversion of cane sugar is also an example of a pseudo first order reaction, right? So with that we come to an end of our today's session. Hope you have enjoyed my session. Please keep watching and keep subscribing. Okay, and do share it with your friends. Thank you and have a good day.